Guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Lady Claims I Stole Her Car and the Police Were Called. I've seen posts about this kind of thing and thought no way this is real. What kind of idiot would call the police for that? Well, yesterday it happened, and I'm still confused what this lady was thinking. We have been looking for a car for our youngest. Looking through online ads, we came across an ad for a luxury car that only wanted about 1/3 of what this car blue books for. Says car just suddenly stopped starting. My husband is a mechanic, so we decided to look at it, just to see. Immediately he sees a couple potential problems as to why it doesn't start. Car has new tires, body nearly perfect, interior needs a few easy fixes. Still well worth way more than owner is asking, even with paying for repairs to get it running. Of course, we bought it. Youngest is ecstatic about getting a luxury car for graduation. Husband gets car running, even easier fix than he originally thought. And now it is time for crazy lady, CL. It is time for plates and registration. Off to the DMV we go. Come out with the temporary tags and his husband is putting them on the car. This lady walks up. CL. Excuse me? Me. Distracted by phone? CL. Excuse me? Me. I'm sorry, do you need something? CL. Yes, that car. Me. My car? What about it? CL. Where did you get it? Me. We bought it a few weeks ago. CL. That's my car. Husband. No, it isn't. Now get away from us. CL. Yes, that is the car I was going to buy from previous owner, and you stole it from me. Me. Lady, I paid previous owner what they were asking, and nothing was said about you. Leave us alone. CL. Previous owner, and I had an agreement about the car and you came in and made her sell it to you. I want it back and I want it now. I had to buy that piece of shit over there instead. Now, you take the piece of shit and give me my car. Me. What the duck ever, which? Now get the hell out of my way before I run your stupid ass over. CL. I'm not going anywhere. I've already reported to the police that I have found my stolen car and they are on the way. Husband. Are you ducking nuts, lady? You can't just report a car stolen because you missed the chance to buy it. What this insane witch doesn't know is we are actually waiting on the previous owner to show up to get her plate and registration because there was a mix-up with the title, DMV fault, and we had to wait to get that fixed before we could title, register, and plate it, so we were still using the correct plates. Previous owner can then turn in her plate and get a refund for the months not used. 2 police cruisers pulled up about 5 minutes later. Previous owner pulled in right behind them. As the 2 officers are getting out and asking who called, previous owner walked up to me and my husband, asking what is going on. She hadn't noticed the crazy lady yet. CL immediately started yelling how she had paid for this car and we forced the previous owner to give us the title instead. She wanted us arrested and her given the title and possession of the car right now. One of the officers walked over to us. I grinned because it is one of my friend's sons. Grew up with and was friends with my oldest son. Officer. Hey, Brandy. Want to tell me what is going on? Me. I don't really know. We bought this car a few weeks ago from her, pointing to previous owner, and while we were waiting for her to show up to get her plate, this woman started screaming at us about stealing the car. Something about they, pointing between previous owner and crazy lady, had an agreement about the car, but she, previous owner, sold it to us instead, and now she, crazy lady, is demanding we take whatever car she ended up buying and we give her this one. Previous owner. This is exactly why I didn't sell her the car in the first place. She is my neighbor, and she is insane. She asked me about it when I decided to sell it and I told her she could buy it, but she wanted me to get it running again but still sell it to her for the low price. I told her I didn't want to deal with it and that is why it was low. If I got it running again, I might just keep it, but I would definitely raise the selling price to at least double. She has called me a few times asking if I had it running yet and I have told her no, but she kept telling me to call her when I did. Officer then, going with procedures, checked all of our IDs, checked the bill of sale, previous registration, and ran the VIN. Everything checked out. Officer. I think we're done here. Addressing crazy lady, ma'am, it is a crime what you have attempted here. Actually, you made a false report which is a crime and I could arrest you, but I'm not. I'm sure you're just upset and made a bad judgment call so we will let it slide. CL, no, it wasn't a false report. That is my car. Officer. Ma'am, stop. Just stop. I could also charge you with attempted car theft but we're all just going to walk away now. CL, no, I'm not just walking away. This is bullshit. Pointing at previous owner. You owe me, amount twice what we paid for the car, and I will get my car back. Officer number 2. Ma'am, step over by the cruiser. We need to have a talk. I gave the plate to the previous owner and officer number 1 told us to have a nice day. Husband and I went ahead and left while previous owner went into the DMV. CL was still ranting at officer number 2 about allowing us to steal the car. Previous owner texted me later that CL was in the back of the police car when she left, still yelling. I'm not worried about any future contact with CL. We don't live in the town where the DMV is or where they live. In a couple of months, the car will be 2 hours away with my youngest at college. CL doesn't know our names and previous owner doesn't know where we live. The next story is titled, I bought an apartment here, so I am allowed to be on the construction site too. Backstory. For the past months there's been a construction area in my neighborhood. There's a big crane in place obviously used to build stuff. Both renovation and new constructions. Now I love tech and for me, tech got broad. Such a crane and people working to build, renovate stuff? That's tech for me too. Big machines as well as displays of skill and craftsmanship. I can very much appreciate that. Because of that I took plenty of detours when going to or from my shopping and when there was something to see, like a big truck unloading. The crane working around ground level. Never underestimate the skill to keep something decently steady while it's on a long string hundreds of meters below you. As a result I sometimes ran into people on their lunch break, sometimes started some small talk and now I know a few people by name. Totally unrelated to the story but still gonna share. One day I'm walking towards the grocery store to do some shopping and ended up passing the construction site around noon. Dirk sees me, recognizes me and asks me if I want to see something cool. Sure, I guess. He tells me to stand near the entrance, on the site itself, but just slightly, hands me a hard hat to wear so I don't stand out. I'm dozens of meters away from the actual action area, and for sure, the crane operator lowers a huge platform. While there was also a huge wind blowing here and there and he still made it look like peanuts. Even from a distance that was awesome to see emo, it looks all too easy and casual. The ruckus. Today I'm home early and decided to be lazy and visit a local supermarket to get something easy for dinner. I also decided to walk past the construction site and while there I noticed a group of people blocking some old woman from going in. The woman was yelling and cursing, which was also my cue to exit. As I did a police car got onto the site. I got my groceries and decided to head the same way back, so, taking a small detour, because I was curious. When I got there I just saw the woman from before getting pushed into a police car and I recognized Dirk who was talking to an agent. I decided to wait and Dirk eventually walked up to me and told me what happened. It was pretty much a regular day except for the fact that they were doing prep work to add a new level to the building. Which means a lot of very heavy cargo going up and down on the crane which also meant, no outsiders allowed, period. For context's sake, during those moments they'll even kick the owner of the land out due to safety regulations. So when a woman in her 50s or 60s decided to get onto the site as if she owned the place people quickly noticed and blocked her. But all to no avail, she would have none of it that things could be too dangerous. Instead she barked that she bought an apartment on the 4th floor, they were just expanding on the 5th so, barebone anyone? And so she had a right to be there. The more she pushed on the more people came to block her way, without actually grabbing or restraining her. It's beyond stupid emo but these days some companies prefer that you do not get physical with any women at all so that they can never claim rape or assault charges. Of course the small downside is the risk of them stumbling onto hazardous areas which could lead to severe physical damage or worse, but apparently that is all covered. Hooray for women power I suppose? For the record, this all plays out in the Netherlands. So the workers mostly blocked her, police was called and after they arrived, which is what I originally saw, they stopped her more forcefully, which is where she became really hostile. Lots of screaming and cursing and when push came to shove the officers eventually decided that enough is enough and detained her. It sounds absurd, but that's actually not that common over here. According to Dirk, the officers were actually quite annoyed that it got so far that they had no choice anymore but to detain her. Police arrived when I was passing by. My grocery shopping took me at least 20 minutes, and on my way back I saw them detain her. The lady was having a fit that she wasn't allowed access despite allegedly having purchased an apartment, one which wasn't even nearly close to getting finished. Security regulations? She's a woman, damn it, and she paid for the apartment. WTF, was everyone thinking? So the police eventually took her away, and I'm also happy to report that the construction company is going to file charges, but it remains to be seen how much that's going to do considering the apparent crazy laws we have over here, according to Dirk. It's the absurdity of it all that also made me agree to write this up, despite this not having a solid ending, not yet anyway. But seriously, if you're a woman and making a ruckus, some construction companies over here actually prefer workers not to interfere at all. And if the woman dies in the process because of it, it'll be much better for them, because had they interfered, the woman could have claimed assault charges, and that could bankrupt smaller companies. I dunno what to think of all this, but even so, how entitled, or brain-dead stupid, do you have to be to think you should be allowed to access a construction site, merely because you bought an apartment? One which isn't even close to being finished. The next story is titled, Supermarket Karen Tried to Ram Worker with a Trolley. I am not a participant in this story, just an amused witness. In England and Wales on Sundays big supermarkets close at 4 p.m. I'm pretty sure it's a trading times law or something, but little corner shops and small supermarket local stores can stay open. No idea why this is. The UK has weird laws. It's also illegal here to carry a salmon suspiciously. Weird country. Anyway, I'd headed to the big supermarket in the city 40 minutes from my house to get a few bits we needed for the next week. For those wondering why I didn't go to a closer supermarket, well, creepy Lunger is out on the streets on bail, so I am not shopping in my town right now. But that's another story. I was cutting it close, arriving at 3:38 p.m. I got what I needed and made my way out of the store at or around 3:59 p.m., by which time the store was no longer taking in customers. This store has an indoor and an outdoor. Since COVID, it has also put up red and green traffic lights telling people when they can and can't enter. As I was walking through the first set of outdoors past the big barrel of pumpkins, a woman with a trolley was standing in front of, behind a store employee, whose back was to me, attempting to enter. The male employee sounded somewhat exasperated as he explained the store was closed. The lady, who from here on out we'll call Karen, was arguing that she had shopping to do and only had a few items to get, and she'll be 5 minutes tops. She had the giant trolley with baby seat and at least 4 bags from what I could see. The employee told her again they were closed and she'd have to come back tomorrow. Karen was not having it. She decided to ram the poor employee with the trolley. Unfortunately for him, he was the perfect height to hit his meat and 2 veg. The poor employee went down with a thud, crying in pain. Karen, seeing this as her opportunity, attempted to push over the employee, not past. She literally tried to push her trolley over his foot to get through the first set of indoors. The guy was having none of it. From his semi-fetal position on the floor, he reached out and grabbed Karen's ankle, forcing her to scream and start trying to stamp on the poor guy. Another employee quickly hustled those of us who were stood watching the show out the door as security was bear hugging the Karen. I got my shopping into the car and decided to head to the KFC that was in the same little retail park as the supermarket. As I sat in the ridiculously long line waiting for my sweet chili wrap with sweet chili bites and Maltesers Crush 'em, I got the pleasure of seeing a police car and ambulance with full blues and twos going past to, presumably, collect Karen and the employee. Though I really wish I knew what I missed to require an ambulance with blues and twos, because although I am aware a direct hit to the veggies hurts like a son of a, I can't see it warranting an ambulance. Either way, one more crazy Karen has got her just desserts instead of her shopping. The last story is titled, Clearly All Roads Are For You. So, this actually happened to my husband the other day, but I thought you'd all get a kick out of it. Background. So, we live in an area with a high number of old folks and small children. The main road, winding and full of curves, tends to be full of people walking up and down, no sidewalks. It's one lane to go up, one lane to go down, and a grass median between the two. Lately people have been whipping up and down this road, so speed bumps have been being installed, sectioning off certain parts of the road while they get poured and painted. The story. So my son is developmentally behind and needs to see specialists, which means that even with the pandemic he needs to go in person. My husband was on his way to pick him up from the specialist, driving slowly over the new speed bumps, with a few cars following behind him. As he turned the corner, there were suddenly headlights in his face as a Mercedes charged up at him. Naturally he stomped on the brakes and prayed. Our 1-year-old was in the car too. The cars behind were able to stop without anyone crashing, but that Mercedes charged up to about an inch from his hood. Enter Karen. After laying on the horn, the driver of the Mercedes gets out, an older, high society, kind of Karen that has her nose so high in the air she's liable to catch butterflies when she runs. She takes one look at our slightly beat-up van and decides hubby isn't worth treating as human. Karen. Move your car. I have the right of way and you're blocking me. Husband. Actually, you're driving on the wrong side of the road. Listen, there's cars behind me so me moving would be difficult. This lane is wide here, why don't you scooch your car over and we can both pass? Karen. Move your car. Or I'm calling the cops. Husband, having had quite enough, I'll do you a favor and call for you. Cars behind. Just move, lady. So, hubby calls the non-emergency line, putting the call on the car's speakers and turning it all the way up. He explains the situation to the younger operator, who legit said, "Let me guess, the lady's name is Karen. Alright, I'll send an officer." Y'all, this lady was the embodiment of smugness when that police car showed up. He walked over to my husband to get the full story, then walked back to Karen. The look on her face when cuffs came out was priceless. Hubby snapped a pic. You see, besides blocking traffic, reckless driving, and trying to endanger, she was also getting charged with child endangerment. That police officer had definitely noticed the 1-year-old in our backseat singing his little head off, and noticed how close that Mercedes had come to ramming the van head-on. At the end of talking to my husband, the officer had asked hubby if he'd like to testify against her in court. No idea if it'll pan out, but good thoughts. Thank you for listening.